Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host Hodwig Ming, and today we'll start off our episode by talking about Lollipop Chainsaw. So if you have never heard of Lollipop Chainsaw, it's effectively an action-based game featuring a cheerleader that, well, holds a chainsaw. It's a pretty old game that was quite popular back in the day. So Lollipop Chainsaw has confirmed that they will have a remastered version called Lollipop Chainsaw Repop that is currently set to be released sometime in 2024. So for those of you that want to revisit this good old game, be sure to mark it down in your calendar that we are getting this game released next year. Next, we have news on one of the most popular games right now, Spider-Man 2. So the devs of Spider-Man 2 have confirmed that they will be releasing a new Game Plus mode, but it will only be available at the end of the year. So unfortunately, you would have to wait for quite a fair bit before you get to enjoy the game with all your powers that you have unlocked throughout the entire game. Honestly, I find it pretty surprising that we don't have new Game Plus right at the beginning, because nowadays a crap ton of games come built in with new Game Plus. But no matter, regardless, I would still think that New Game Plus coming in end of the year is not that bad. After all, Spider-Man is a pretty fun game and there are a ton of things that you can collect and do, so it will take a pretty decent amount of time for you to grind out the entire game before you enjoy New Game Plus. With that in mind, why not you guys let us know, did you enjoy Spider-Man 2? Write it down in the comments and we can discuss on this topic even more if you guys are interested in finding out our thoughts about Spider-Man 2. Next, we're gonna talk about Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. So Assassin's Creed Nexus VR recently released 8 minutes of gameplay, which is pretty cool. Personally, I'm not a big fan of VR games, but based on the gameplay footage that I saw, looks pretty cool, and I think if you guys are into VR games, you guys would definitely enjoy it. But of course, I would still highly suggest you guys check out the 8 minutes of gameplay footage before you guys make any decisions, because VR games are not exactly for everyone. But in any case, the game will be releasing next month on MetaQuest 2, 3 and Pro, so you guys do have some time to think and consider if you would like to try out Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. Next, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, specifically the Xbox Open Beta test. So yes, Final Fantasy XIV will be available on Xbox, and the beta test is set to be sometime during mid-January to February next year. So for all you Xbox players out there, you guys will finally be able to enjoy Final Fantasy XIV, but let's be real, if you really want a good Final Fantasy XIV experience, just play it on PC. Like, you won't regret it at all, honestly. And PC is by far just the much better console if you ask me, so yeah. Then, next, we'll talk about Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster. So Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered is set to be released on the 28th of February next year for PS4, PS5, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, as well as PC. So if you have never heard of Star Wars Dark Forces, it's effectively a olden day FPS game. Think of GoldenEye or the OG Doom. So yeah, it's a pretty old game, but of course this remastered will feature slightly enhanced graphics, but quite frankly, if you don't enjoy the good old classics like Doom or GoldenEye, this game is pretty much a pass. But if you are a hardcore Star Wars fans, then well, this game is definitely still worth checking out. Then, the last bit of news that we have for this week is on Layers of Fear. So, Layers of Fear recently released a brand new free DLC called The Final Prologue as a thank you to all their fans. So yeah, this is a pretty nice gesture, and I honestly think that more games should maybe adopt this free DLC method just to reward their fans for their continuous support. Next, we'll talk about a game that has not been delayed but instead been brought forward on its release, and this game in question is The Walking Dead Destinies, which will be released on the 17th of November this year instead of 2024 on PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, as well as PC. The physical editions will instead be releasing on the 1st of December. So yeah, this is definitely great news for all of you guys that are expecting this game. It's very, very rare that we get a game to be released earlier instead of being delayed, so this is definitely great news. Next, we'll talk about some games that you can get your hands on this week, starting off with Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, available on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So what exactly do you get in this Metal Gear Solid collection? So first off, what you'll get is Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. So these are the two games that are included in this collection. Unfortunately, the game seems to have pretty mixed reviews on PC, so you guys might want to hold on a bit before getting the game on PC, just to see, if the devs decide to patch things up and hopefully make things better. But irregardless, I would say that Metal Gear games have been long and running, and generally the game is just really good and very decent. So if you enjoyed the previous Metal Gear games and just want to revisit some of the olden classics, then maybe give it a shot, but I would still recommend waiting first before deciding to put in money. Then next, we have Stray Souls, available on PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, and PC. So what is Stray Souls about? Stray Souls is a horror-esque game that reminds me a lot like Silent Hill, and yeah, it's basically a Silent Hill inspired game. You grab a gun, you shoot a couple of monsters ranging from things that look like zombies, as well as creatures that look like the creepy multi-handed creatures from the forest. And yeah, it's basically Silent Hill, but different in a way, I guess. So if you like horror games, I would suggest checking it out, just because we don't really have a lot of horror games recently, at least not to my memory. So yeah, definitely give Stray Souls a shot if you enjoy horror games in general. Then next, since we're talking about horror, we'll talk about Alan Wake 2. Not exactly a horror game, but a thriller game. And the game will be available on PC, Xbox Series S and X, and PS5. So not much introduction will be required for Alan Wake 2. It's basically the continuation of the good old Alan Wake that people have been begging for a sequel for like I think around more than 10 years. So yeah, I'll not go too deep in this. It's going to be a bang of a game, and it's one of the most popular games for I think this week and next week. So yeah. Then the last game that we'll be introducing this week is Ghost Runner 2, available on PC, Xbox Series S and X, and PS5. So Ghost Runner 2, well, as you would expect, is the sequel of Ghost Runner. But if you have never heard of Ghost Runner before, what exactly is Ghost Runner 2 about? Ghost Runner 2 is a ninja-based parkour game. No, not exactly ninja, more like a cybernetic ninja-based parkour-ish game. But of course, well, considering the fact that you're a cybernetic ninja, you also kill things. So yeah, think of it as a fast-paced, somewhat like a platformer-based action game. So a pretty unique concept, and generally it's really fast-paced, and it's great for all you adrenaline junkies out there, and the graphics are of course very good as well. So yeah, that's more or less it for this week. We'll now move on to our last and final segment, Free Things. So this week, Epic Games Store is giving out Tandem, A Tale of Shadows, and The Evil Within 2. So be sure to claim these two games before they're no longer available. And that marks the end of our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys on next week's episode of Game Things.